Warning: Please note that this podcast contains strong language and touches on many topics that may not be considered appropriate for a work environment. If you choose to listen to this podcast where you can be overheard, we are not responsible for the consequences of your decision. You've been warned.
Spoilers, people. We're gonna talk about feminism, and as...
Yes, we are, because it's Pride Month. And this is We All Have an X-Chromosome, in case you forgot to read the title of the podcast. And we're happy you're here.
Yep, it is Pride Month, so we're gonna get everything going through. But first we're gonna go through and get a little bit of business squared away.
Because, you just love listening to us. Remind you that we have a whole bunch of social media links and things, and that if you like our podcast, don't just passively listen. We do want you to like and subscribe so that you get the new stuff. We also do not mind, and we'd encourage you to drop us a review so that we can make the podcast algorithms dance to our specific drum, and we can reach more people, because the more reviews we get, the wider net we cast.
And the wider net we cast, the more opportunity for us to get sponsors, which helps us do things like upgrade tech and fight through paywalls.
We're not always the luckiest to have people who are gracious enough to give of their time, as our guest this evening, who is somebody I'm super excited about. Pretty excited about last week, but this week is more exciting still. We're talking to an actual celebrity, and I'm just sorry I can't do more other than be super excited and geek out. But there are specialists I would like to invite on the podcast to talk about things in their field, and I don't feel right about making them do their jobs for free.
So you'll find everything like that on our website. That's going to be at xchromosomepodcast.com. Not only does it have a link to all of our social media, which is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. It also has links to our Patreon, which is currently getting updated as me and our producers are working on trying to get those tier levels adjusted. Also, it's got a direct payment link. If you just want to PayPal us $1, feel free. That $1 will go to good use.
You can subscribe to some things for $1, so that will help us do better research.
Because we do have sponsors, and we're gonna, for example, this month our sponsor is
The Tower, The Hangman, The Fool. Bill and Millie Chaveo are at a crossroads. Just coming into their magic, the twins must choose their fate. Do they take the easy path, or protect their friends and loved ones? Wisdom comes at a cost. Its magical power changes everything. It's 1929, at the height of Prohibition in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The stock market crashes, leaving the Chaveos in the poorhouse. Uncle Finn's sight tipped him off, but he kept it all to himself. Finn's got money, powers, and connections with Boston cement his victory. However, the Italian-run speakeasy draws new players from the deck to oppose him. Magic, monsters, and mobsters will clash in a small town, but the outcome is unclear. How will Bill and Millie defy a man who sees the future? Find out when you read Wiser Guys by D.R. Perry.
now that I got rid of that awkward jump cut, because as people know, I'm going to go through and add those later. Let's go through and introduce our guest that has all the excitement about. Oh, before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our associate producer, Brian. Brian helped coordinate this guest this month.
Yes, so thank you, Brian. And welcome to the show, Miss Bearded Ohio. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you? Thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited. And then it was even more exciting when I realized I actually know you, just not
Right.
in your drag persona.
Correct.
So yeah, we both work the same Renaissance festival. Different booths, but I love the Potter's House. They have awesome yarn. And
I do. I love it. One quick note: it's my title. It's not Miss Bearded Ohio. It's Ohio Bearded Queen.
okay,
It's part of a national system.
Well, that's exciting.
And I'm the
Even
Ohio
better.
representative.
All right, tell us more about that. Let's just jump right into it because I screwed up, and you can now educate me about this really cool thing that I barely scratched the surface of in my research when I was explaining how excited I was to somebody.
Gotcha.
This national, I guess it's pageants. Is that the best way to describe it?
It is a pageant. National Bearded Queen started 3 years ago through the works of the current promoter, Richard Van Stone, and one of his very good friends, Jolene Cuisine, who is no longer with us. She was the emeritus for the system. She was appointed to the system, but her and her mother, they helped come up with the categories as well as Richard. And so it's very similar to any other pageant. You have fashion categories, you have interview and talent. But how this one varies a little bit different is what the category definitions are. You have an avant-garde category where most other pageants have an evening gown or evening wear category. This is our fashion category, and it allows us to get a bit more creative with what we do. It doesn't have to be the fancy gowns that you might see Miss America wear. It could be, but it just needs to be very edgy, very Milan, Paris, runway, editorial looks.
That's neat.
We also have Club Style, and in Club Style, they want you to showcase what would you wear if you were to go out and represent nationally. What could we expect to see from you? So it could be something as simple as a cocktail dress, but you better sell the hell out of that cocktail dress. Or it could be something large, like a large backpack or headdress with stoned and beaded fringe all over. Like, it can be minimum or huge. And then you have your talent category, which is just about anything that you want to do. On stage question, again, anything you want to do. And this year, for the Parade of Contestants, which is just get to know everybody, like a self intro, we had Drag is Art. And that was the theme selected by last year's national representative, Joey Gallagher. And everybody had to pick a famous piece of art. And how will you portray that art on stage? And I dressed up as probably my favorite, most iconic piece of art, Miss Piggy.
That's amazing.
And so I dressed up as Miss Piggy, and I came out with a Kermit puppet, and I oinked my pretty little heart out. And it was not a judged category, but it was a lot of fun. So that's a little bit about the system. And also interview. This year, I was the recipient of the Jolene Cuisine Award, which is similar to the Miss Congeniality Award. And I also won interview this year when I went to nationals. So that's just a little bit about it. I didn't win this year, but I did do well.
Well, that just gives you room to improve for next year. And I'm always going to be ridiculously proud and supportive of Ohio talent, especially from Central Ohio, because that's where I live.
Yes. There's a lot of talent in the state of Ohio. And that's actually been one of my personal goals as Ohio Bearded Queen, I have a personal blog, and I showcase once, or at least one or two every month, other
awesome.
bearded entertainers, and I kind of boost their signal, and I do a little interview, and I get some photos of them. So that really works out.
That's awesome. And we all know that Central Ohio has had some problem with drag programs at the library.
Oh, I couldn't possibly imagine what you're speaking about. Sarcasm.
It's okay. I raged about it last week too, but I'm going to rage about it until the end of time because I am a librarian. I have my master's degree. I specialized in youth programming and reference. So
gotcha.
Designing programs for libraries is literally something I paid to learn how to do.
Right.
So ignorant people coming to me and telling me, well, that's not what the library is for.
No, that's exactly what the library is for.
Exactly. And it was heartwarming to me to see the support of the general community mostly outweighed in the detractors in the comment section, and support for diversity in library programming had some very vocal and outspoken defenders. I just think it's shitty that drag performers are stigmatized and demonized and misunderstood. Drag is an art.
Correct. And that was the big thing for the category I spoke to, but that's all it is. We're artists. We're the literal only difference between what I do and what Bozo the Clown did is my clothes are prettier. Otherwise, I wear big hair, big shoes. I paint my lips on entirely too large. My eyebrows are in my hairline. I mean, we're the same person. The only difference is I could possibly look a bit more feminine, although I personally don't look that much more feminine because I do still have a beard. But other entertainers, that I call them smooth-faced entertainers, they tend to look more feminine. And then the question is, well, are they trying to do this or that because of their portrayal of a different gender? No, that's just how it works out. It's no different. It's art. We're actors. We're actresses. We're activists.
And I applaud your willingness to be out there and be on the front lines. And it's really nice to be able to give more of a platform for you to speak about your art and about your activism.
Yeah, it last week was Dayton's Pride. Was it last week? Yeah. My weekends are a bit confused. So this past weekend wasn't, but the very first weekend in June was. And I was approached actually by one of the protesters. And I love meeting the protesters. I love seeing them every year. They really kind of make my pride. It's sad that they're there, but I view it as thank you for showing up, because I promise you I don't go to your church or your whatever rallies that you're doing. And I don't protest them, but you took it out of your day to come and see us, and how amazing is that? But I love whenever they have blow horns, and I just look at them and say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Because no matter the question, love is the answer. And I talked to one guy, and he asked me what my name was. And I said, it depends. Are you friend or foe? And he asked me if I was... Am I allowed to drop other people's names on here? It's not a bad thing.
I'm not going to stop you.
I'm not either. Yeah.
Okay. He asked me specifically, are you Selena T. West? And I looked at him and I said, I'm flattered you think I would be her, but I am not her. She does not live here. I said, but I'd be happy to talk to you. And he goes, well, what's your name? And I said, well, that's really funny because you want to know what my name is, and I have no interest in knowing yours. And he didn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. So how did the conversation progress from there, or did he just sort of shut down?
He equated me to a dumpster and that I was just trash, and he just continually berated me, and I took it. I stood there and I took it, not because I had to, But the longer he spoke to me, the less time he had to speak and be hateful and evil to anyone else who was there to have a good time. And I was there to have a good time, but I'm 34 years old, and it takes a lot to break me. It may not take much to break an 18, 19-year-old spirit, or a mother who just had their son or daughter come out to them as trans, or maybe it was somebody's first experience. It's not mine. I've been to 15, 16 of these things, so it's always a good time. So he didn't like my words, but that's fine. I kept him talking to me, and eventually he just got bored.
That takes a lot of strength of spirit, and that's really awesome that you're fighting that fight and that you center your activism around shielding people who aren't emotionally ready to deal with people like that. That's really awesome.
It's what I do. And actually, I spoke to Brian earlier, and I'll share this with you, and you may or may not edit this out, but
tell us all your stories. Give us everything. Give us more than we
feel free to use it all. I believe words shouldn't have power, but they have entirely too much power as is. For example, people of different races have different slurs, and I'm not going to use those. Those aren't appropriate for me to use. I don't feel I have that power. But often I've been called, since I've been 18 years old and even younger, a faggot, a sissy, a queer. And I own those words. I will self-describe myself as a fat, feminine faggot. And there is absolutely nothing anyone in this world can do or say to me or about me that I don't know. And so another thing he called me a faggot. And I go, that's really funny. I said, I'm also feminine and fat. You forgot those. You didn't read the whole bio. And again, he didn't like that. And everybody kind of uses different defense mechanisms. And humor is or isn't mine. But you can't tell me anything I don't know. I've learned who I am, but I'd rather you be rude and mean and hateful to me, because I can do it. Like, I have all the love in the world for anyone, but not everyone shares my stance.
I'm going to bring it back to the pageants. Because I'm just curious about one thing about the pageants, because it wasn't actually brought up. Do they have a category about the actual beard? The only reason I'm even mentioning this is because I'm a big proponent of facial hair and Movember and things of that nature. So I cry worse than a squishy teenage girl, to be quite honest. But do they have a category about the actual beard itself? Or is that just in reaction to everything else with all the other fashion?
So the beard, it does not have its own separate category. Nowhere in any of the score sheets is your beard judged. Because how would you judge a beard? By its density, by its color, by its texture? Like, there's so many different things. Specifically, last year's national representative, Joey, has alopecia. So his beard is very thin. One of our contestants can only grow a small mustache. So what they did was they glued glitter on to their face.
All right.
I do have a beard, but I tend to trim mine down and blend it in with my hair. So I will use cream colors to blend it in with the hair color I'm wearing. And that's the look I want to do. There are other queens who have very thick, full beards. And that's the look that they go for. And they don't dye it. They just let it be natural. So you do want your beard to go with your look, but there's not any set criteria, because the system does want to showcase beards in all our beauty and all our glory. A way that I also identify is I call my drag a piece of masculine femininity. So I will wear nails and lashes and lipstick and makeup. If you've seen pictures of me, you can attest to this. And that's what I do, but not everyone looks as feminine as I do. They might look a bit more club kiddish or New York style, and that's fine. Like, it's not any one aesthetic.
So, all in regards to that part, all facial hair is considered equal. It's nothing you have to do in respect to this facial hair. I like that.
And our system, well, so the national system, it even has other branches, like Club Kid, Drag Monster, but that's a whole nother realm. And I'm not the expert in those categories, so I won't speak to those. But there are others, and they have their own little thing. But for example, National Bearded Queen, a female, like born female, could come and enter National Bearded Queen. It does not say that you have to solely be male. It does, however, state that all your performances have to be bearded. So if a female glues hair on, or grows it, or does glitter, or just does a makeup beard, that's fine.
That's really cool.
It's about making everybody feel welcome at the table. Like in my own personal home, our door's always open to anyone. So I don't necessarily need to have a bigger house. I just need a bigger table sometimes to allow more people around it. And that's what Bearded Queen is currently doing. They're trying to make sure everybody has a seat at the table if they want it.
That's really cool. It's the inclusivity is, and dare I say intersectionality is really important in all venues. Women with PCOS would be able to compete to be a bearded queen, and it would be a space where they could embrace their whole body as it was given to them and not be in a situation where they get, flack. If they wanted to be a performer, that's a venue that's open to them.
Absolutely.
I have some other types of drag performer on my friends list, and it's interesting to see all of those looks. Specifically, it's I think the performance style is called genderfuck, where you're not sure.
I love genderfuck and genderqueer. Love them.
And that's fascinating. And this I saw speaking with you as a chance to sort of bring the less traditionally famous forms of drag to our tiny audience, which someday people will come back and listen to this episode and be like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing, and have a whole new world open to them. I did not
There's a lot of people who have said they've never heard of or seen bearded drag. And back in the 70s and 80s, what I do, it used to be considered skag drag. And skag drag, are you familiar with the term?
No.
Give us all the history of drag you want to give us. Assume we are complete.
Well, I am by no
virgins.
stretch. I am by no stretch a know-it-all, end-all, be-all. But skag drag is when, for example, maybe your father would go into your brother would go into your mother's closet, just grab a couple things and grab that blue eyeshadow and that lipstick and just throw something on to go out, just to be funny, just to say, look at me, I'm wearing ladies' clothing. And that's what bearded performers were considered for a long, long time. We weren't given the same spotlight that female illusionists were given. Mm-hmm. For a long time. That the only way that you could make money or perform on stage, other than maybe an open stage or like a talent night, is if you were a female impersonator, or if you were like a stripper, like different leather titles and things like that. I mean, I could really go into a whole dichotomy and talk all night.
We will cut you off eventually, so just talk.
Correct.
And
so, but
we'll go
like
from there.
those were the types of people who would be booked in shows, and I don't know, in the last decade or so, different types of entertainers have kind of come around. You have bio queens, which are biological females who dress up just like drag queens. The only difference is they don't have to hide a piece of themselves to give the illusion of a female. One of the benefits of my style of drag, I'm not trying to pretend to be female, so I don't need to make things and parts and pieces disappear.
No adjustment necessary.
No, none. So, but I've also been gifted with the 99-cent titties, and I get those from McDonald's and Taco Bell. So I just push those up, and I have a very nice chest line.
There is nothing a good corset can't solve, let me tell you.
True.
As a corseteer at fair, there is nothing a good corset cannot solve.
Truth.
A friend of mine who I do another podcast with, Alice, she had one of the things that we do is we keep on going through and sending back basically memes to each other just because they're dark and depressing and we don't want anybody else to know what we're thinking. But she sent me one that said, life is basically avoiding people who have seen you naked while trying to find new people to see you naked. And I responded back to her, I was like, well, if you wanted me to give you a cleavage shot, all you had to do was ask.
I enjoy that.
She did not know how to take that.
I mean, is that open for everyone? Just curious.
I'll send you one privately when that comes down to that. I
Great.
don't think our viewers can handle that.
I'm fairly certain you've seen my cleavage shots. Because, again, we work the same show.
I was going to say, you have your cleavage shots on display.
Yeah. And it doesn't stop. It doesn't make people go away. It's really sad.
No.
I wish it worked.
No, even as a gay man, I can totally appreciate cleavage. Whether it's on a man or a woman, I don't care. It's pretty.
See, that's what people have to realize. It's like, I'm a straight man. But if I see a man go through something to make them look good, feel good, things like that, I can appreciate that. I mean, I enjoy watching Mad Men, not because Joan's hot, which she is, but I just like Don Draper's just physical style. If I wouldn't sweat through suits constantly, I would love to dress like that. But I like us to be comfortable, so that's a major part of my aesthetic. But at the same time, I can watch professional wrestling and say, damn, that guy works out. Look at his abs.
And I mean, you're a recovering Southerner, so that's awesome. Let's see, Brian mentioned in the show prep notes that you had a pretty positive journey so far in your life in self-expression.
Yeah, I really have. I mean, so at the beginning, it was a bit challenging only because it was new water. It was new water not only for me but for my family, and nobody knew how to navigate. So when I came out in 2001, in 2001 I was 16, so please don't shoot me. If anyone is a different age bracket
you're talking to two people that are in their 40s. So
okay. So in 2001 I was in high school. My mother overheard me talking to my boyfriend on the telephone. My boyfriend shows up to my house. My mother worked at home. She did daycare. And my boyfriend shows up. My boyfriend was 2 years older than I, so he was 18, I was 16. And that's not how I wanted my mother to find out. That's not how I wanted any of that to happen. But okay, we're here, and he comes in, so we go out and talk on the front porch. I said, you need to leave. I'm not ready to tell her yet. Apparently, my mother turned on the camera, because we had security cameras, and she listened, and then she knew, and then she goes, "Is there anything you'd like to tell me?" I said, "I don't want to, but I will." And so we became very open, but we were very open anyway. I was born with cancer. I've had cancer twice now. I've been in remission since about 16, 17 years old. So my mother and I, we already had that strong relationship anyway. So it was easy for her to kind of accept. The thing she didn't like was the lying, because I used to lie to go out to go see my boyfriend, because I knew she didn't want me to see him, not because he was a he, but because he was 18 and I was not. But once I became of age, and it all became much, much easier. My dad, he never batted once. I used to be concerned that he would be more upset. And he goes, "So I hear you have a boyfriend?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I'd like to meet him." "Really?" And that is how I came out to my dad.
That's pretty damn amazing.
My brother was fine. The only concern, or the only big problem I had, was with the older generation of my family. My grandfather, he took concern. He didn't want his son to, or his grandson to be a fucking faggot. Sorry, trigger warning. May want to censor that.
We will put content warnings.
Yes.
In the show notes, so that people are prepared that it's in there.
Yes. I apologize, but yeah, he didn't want his grandson. Same with my grandmother. My grandfather is now deceased, but in his last months, he knew who my husband was. I still have the last voicemail I've ever had from my grandfather, and I listened to it just to hear his voice. But the content of the call, it was important, so I really cherish that. But other than that, friends, family, no, it hasn't been too harsh. I mean, I got the jokes, and I use that term very loosely, the elbow jabs. "Oh, look at him," and then some sort of crude humor would be used. But I finally whittled out who my friends are and who my family are, and I really just surround myself with those people.
That's really cool. I know not everybody is lucky to have such a supportive environment, and I can see where that supportiveness has been carried through into your activism, where because you have that foundation to build on, you can stand there and take the hits for the younger, the not as secure, the parents who aren't secure in themselves, which, as somebody who tends to tank mobs, to use gaming terms, on the internet, I'll tank a bigot in the comment section, and I could do this all day. Here's my facts. I'm a librarian. Go ahead, spout your bullshit.
Right.
Here's 12 NCBI articles about how you're wrong and why. And you can argue that they're not legitimate sources. They're actual peer-reviewed papers. You can lie to yourself all you want, but you're still wrong. And it doesn't bother me. And if they're screaming at me, they're not spending time trolling other things and harassing other people.
And that is my whole philosophy. Like, yell at me, say the negative things to me. I can take it. I'm not going to go home. And I'm not saying this in any negative way, but I won't take it to heart. It doesn't hurt me. And if it does, I have very healthy outlets. I have a husband who listens to me, and Lord knows he's held me while I've cried. He's metaphorically slapped me out of it. He said, "Hey, pull yourself together. You're fine." But he lets me have my feelings if I need. I have dogs. I do lots of arts and crafts. I crochet. I knit. I do drag. That's where I can take out my aggressions and my frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
See, the stories that have gone through to really about pride that's gone through and made me weep had been basically stories that were promoted from experiences from free mom hugs, free dad hugs. Because I can't personally imagine what some some people in the community have to go through just to be themselves, and it's heartbreaking.
It is specifically about free mom hugs. I can't speak to the other group, but they've kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, and that's probably not something you were expecting to hear. A friend of mine had a personal experience with them, and I won't say their name.
All right.
Okay.
But this friend, I can share the information with you, and I can show the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
I just won't share it publicly.
Right.
But a mom, she was there, she was volunteering, and she was told by the Free Mom Hugs, we are not part of the LGBT community. We are here as allies. And this friend said, well, actually, I am bisexual. And they said, well, that's not our mission. And then they blocked her from the group because they said that she was being offensive and rude and argumentative. And that wasn't her goal at all. Her goal was just to say, I can be an ally and a member. And why is that a problem? And they didn't want her to be part of it. And then they completely removed her from everything, and she wasn't allowed to march with or walk with or even participate. And they made her return everything they had given out to her. So I'm not saying that's the way with all of them, but that was at least one instance. And that left a very sour taste in my mouth if that's how they treat their volunteers who are trying to be out there and help promote other people.
Just out of curiosity, was this like the what quote unquote national branch or a local branch, or?
I think it was a local branch.
Okay, where?
So it was in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay, so that is something that people definitely need to know, because I have interest in being a part of that group, but not if they're going to be of the Ohio chapter, but not if they're going to be shitty. I have other Fair Associated and Friend Associates, Fair Associated and other avenues of life friends who are also supportive of the general mission, which is they're everybody's children. They deserve love. Everybody,
Right.
Everybody is somebody's child, and that child deserves to be loved by somebody and feel supported. That's an awesome thing. Now, I don't know if going back to the national group with this negative interaction and talking about it will have any impact, but it is something that I would bring forward to my friends. I wouldn't be friends with them if I thought they would hold that attitude. I'm really sorry your friend had to deal with that, because that is some serious bullshit. And
she may
really
be
wrong.
And again, this will still keep her anonymity, but you may have personally ran into her, known her, and spoke to her, like you specifically.
Okay, so it's somebody in our shared community. Okay.
Again, I'll share it with you.
Okay.
Separate, but yeah, like
yeah, we want to not bring heat on people who don't deserve it or don't need it.
Yeah, she was. Oh, and actually, I'm rereading our conversation. The national organization backed the accuser's words that my friend was being argumentative. So
okay,
that's what really kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth. Yeah. But otherwise, like I completely back their love and support. Like I can't tell you personally how many hugs I gave out that day, and I wasn't wearing one of their shirts or anything. Little girls came up to me and they stood in a line to give me a hug, and I go, really? Like, really? You want to give a 6 foot tall, 300-pound man in a wig and a pretty crown, you want to give me a hug? And they just
saw a
they just
princess
thought, yeah,
with a
that's
beard.
what they
That's
saw.
what they saw. Children are beautiful.
And I said, absolutely, I will give you a hug. And I'm glad I wore waterproof mascara that day.
Aw.
Like, because and if there were any drips or anything, I just said it's only because it's hot. I'm sweating from my eyes.
Such a man answer.
I got some mascara flake in my eye.
Yeah,
That's what it was. I'm having a contact problem. Hang on. The contact problem is mostly my excuse.
I never said I was all woman or all man. Like, I gotta have a mix in there.
It's allergies.
It's also good to express yourself emotionally, and that's coming back around again, because I'm going to be angry about this until the heat death of the universe, to drag queens in libraries and reading to children. Kids don't see prejudice. They don't have those filters unless they're taught them. They see a grown-up in a costume. It's the same sort of thing. My husband is locally known as the Sunbury Pirate because he refuses to do anything but dress like a pirate. He wears his garb all the time, much to my exasperation, because sometimes it slows us down. Because everybody's like, "Look, pirate!" I'm sure when you're dressed, you get the same sort of. You get to take 5 steps, and then 20 people have to stop and interact with you.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, it's like
and he hates it.
Yeah, so
hates it, and it's not because I'm getting the attention, but it's because we're stopping again. Like, we walk 10 feet. It takes us sometimes 2 hours. Yeah, like entering the Renaissance Festival to get from front gate to back to where your booth is, coming in the gate, going to the right.
Well,
which is the most direct route to your booth.
Short of going across the Y Bridge. Correct.
It can take us an hour and a half, no joke, to get that far.
That doesn't surprise me. And I feel your partner's pain, because there is nothing more than there's nothing I would like more than to get to the grocery store, handle our shit, and leave as quickly as possible.
Correct.
But when your partner is dressed in character and has to stop and interact with everybody who says, "Look, a pirate."
Right.
But it's still awesome because it changes somebody's day to have that interaction with you.
And he gets that because when I'm Holly, I am Holly. And whether it be a 65-year-old patron or a 2-month-old, they're getting that same time and attention. Now, if you're being belligerent, drunk, and wanting to hang on me or punch me or poke me or touch me, I don't have many boundaries, but physical things.
Don't touch people. Don't touch people.
Yeah, don't touch me. Like, there's polite ways to touch me, like touch me on my arm. Hey, how are you? Touch me once. But beyond that, like, unless, I don't know, I guess I've opened myself up to you or kind of giving you the nonverbal or verbal consent to touch me, don't continue to touch me, especially my things, I promise. My $500 item is a lot more than your $10 t-shirt. And I don't want to come off as elitist, but this is what I wear. This is who I am, and I spent a lot of time and money on this, just as anyone else would any of their costumes or attire.
I'm doing the garb twitches over here.
Yeah.
Back when there were student days, I would work the front garland cart, and some of those kids were the most entitled, grabby. Like, please don't touch things. Don't touch me. Don't touch stuff without help. Don't touch things that don't look like they're part of the inventory. Don't just Where are the adults? And
Right.
I get that at fair. I have some outfits that are well over $1,000 in
Oh, easily.
investment in my personal money. And it's like, don't, please. I need
I always
space.
love when somebody will ask politely, "Can I borrow that?" No. As a matter of fact, you cannot.
Do you personally call me mom? No?
Yeah.
Then no, you cannot borrow my things. You are not my child. I cannot hunt you down and get it back.
Well, we have no children, but I do say if you were not doing one of the 3 F's for me, I do not owe you anything.
And what are your 3 F's? I know one of them. What are the other 2?
Feeding, fucking, or financing.
Okay. Yeah. I'm down with those as parameters for borrowing stuff.
Yes.
I have younger people who have adopted me as a mother figure. So that's
right.
What drew me to the free mom hugs thing is
I will often be told I am a mama bear.
Mm-hmm.
A couple weeks ago I was called Mama Grizzly. And I have now adopted that and love it for all of eternity.
You absolutely should. That just seems to fit your entire persona.
Yes.
On, so many wonderful layers.
I've always been Mama Bear, but Mama Grizzly, I enjoy that one. So that might be a t-shirt someday, or because I mean I have plenty of kids. Just none biological to me. I have drag daughters. I have I'm trying to think.
How does that
I have 2
work?
Drag it's family. It's a mentorship. So, and again, this is not how it works in all drag families, because some drag families are a bit more close-knit, tight-knit. But my drag family, it was solely a mentor and then some emotional, a lot of emotional, but more mentoring, supporting endeavors and giving the tough love off-stage talks like, all right, did you have a good time? Did you feel pretty? Mm-hmm. Okay, now here I'm going to tell you how to refine and how to improve. But that's not something that maybe like a close friend would feel comfortable saying.
Mm-hmm.
You have a vested interest. But then, like, I also have leather children and bear children. My lives very much kind of intersect and bleed into one another.
Okay, and those are all mentor-mentee relationships, or
yes.
Okay,
mostly for me.
Okay.
There are some who don't have the support in their families, and they literally look at me like a mom, and that's fine, and I can be that person for them. But otherwise, it's a lot of mentor-mentee.
And I had seen, like, in my, again, inarticulate between patience and sleep and eating research to try to be minimally knowledgeable and not sound like a complete fucking fool talking to you.
No. You do not sound like a fool at all.
Great. That's my anxiety settled for 2 seconds.
That's my job.
Yeah, but you don't talk. You're the straight white male. You're here to just explain things when...
Wait, straight white male still exists?
Well, I found one to do this podcast with me because sometimes...
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, sometimes you need a straight white male ally to just put out in front of idiots.
I know so very few of those. That's wow. I didn't know that your people still existed.
Cisgender straight white male. So
like he's default settings across the board.
Yes.
I am easy mode, as we call it. How did you get started? What drew you to actually going into drag?
So I started drag when I was 19, and I just wanted to be pretty. And I used to shave my face and I tried to look as feminine as possible. So picture 2002 was a much different time than 2019 is.
Yeah. In
Much
some way.
different.
Okay.
A lot different because so in 2002 we had Will and Grace, and Queer as Folk was out, but it was on HBO. But there were not a lot of gay representation out in the media. We didn't have a lot of gay icons. So my icons, personally, for me, were the local entertainers at a bar called Celebrity Nightclub. And those were my celebrities that I looked up to. And I said, well, they're pretty. And they would wear fabulous costumes. Like, still to this day, some of them still wear them. And they've stood the test of time. And I go, how do you do that? And I wanted to know how people could, by day, because they still had professional day jobs, most of the people I knew, how can you be professional during the day and glamorous at night? I wanted to do that. And so I was taken under the wing by my drag mother, and she showed me the ropes and showed me a few tips and tricks. And then she kind of pushed me out into the water to see if I could swim, and I couldn't. And then she kind of threw me a lifeline and pulled me back, and then we just kind of worked on things. And then over the years, I just picked up different tips and tricks from different aunts, and because not everybody can be your drag mother, but we all have sisters in this business, and when you have a child, then your sisters can sometimes become their aunts, and that's another mentor-mentee type relationship. So, I mean, that's what I did, and I just wanted to be pretty. And then probably 8-9 years ago, I started realizing that I have a backbone and I have a voice, and I'm very strong and very loud, and I can do a lot. And that's what I've done. So for the last 10 years, I've been trying to help people have a voice who don't always have a voice. And like I said at Pride, please yell at me. Please let me do this so that you can go enjoy your Pride. Like, that is just one example. But I can also go with somebody who doesn't have the courage to tell their boyfriend that they want to do drag, or to tell their mother that they're transgendered, or to tell their father that they have a boyfriend. I can be there to help support them. If not physically, I can be there in the After Effects.
On the other side, on the other end of a phone, if you can.
Correct. Like, okay, you just had this conversation with your father. This is what he said. Okay, now let's talk. And I can be here to support you after the fact, sometimes, if I can't physically be there.
And that's just as important as we're discovering in this digital world. It's just as important to have those friends in distance who can still be there at the drop of a dime.
Right.
To be old. I mean, I just turned 40, but used to be able to tell, for the youngins out there who may listen to this, you used to be able to put coins in a phone called a payphone and call people. So that's.
Oh, I was watching a movie, and all I thought was somebody was somewhere, and I go, why don't you just pick up your cell phone and call and say I need help? And then I realized, oh, this was back in the 90s. They didn't have cell phones.
Film. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny how quickly they have.
It makes you think, like, about ideas of people were going to go through and reboot various older boots to current generation, how it would, like, completely change the story. I'm listening to, I'm re-listening to the audiobook The Stand by Stephen King.
Oh god, that's gotta be dated as hell.
Well, not only is it dated, but he kind of did a minor revamp to make it from, like, the 70s to the early 90s at one point. And even then, it's like almost everything that's going on that the government's trying to hide in this book would be blown up on Twitter, on social media, on everything. You wouldn't be able to hide the fact that what was going on as easy as they were doing that at the very beginning stages of the book. And social media and being able to outreach distances. I mean, I'm in my case, I've been a internet nerd for a while now. If for me, when I was in high school, I would have graduated like a year later than Noel, a year earlier than Noel did. But I had IRC. I had things that while people were messing around in AOL chat rooms, I was going into deeper areas and forums and things of that nature to communicate with people because I couldn't get that. And that's probably another reason that I didn't go full hog into the whole the South will rise again bullshit when I was living in the South. Because I did have some people outside my area to stop anything from really sinking in, probably. But when you're going through any type of grief, just knowing that there's... Excuse me.
Are you dying? Please stop dying.
I don't know why I'm dying. But it's always good that you know that there's going to be someone to check in on you. It might not be someone that's nearby or whatnot, but you know that if you don't answer your message or you don't answer your phone, they're going to try to go through and hunt you down. My friend, and in fact, she's our sponsor this month, DR Perry. I didn't answer my phone for me while on my unemployment thing. She went through, contacted our Facebook page, and Noelle was able to follow up and say, yeah, I spoke to him this morning. Just because she was like, I'm checking in on him, he's not answering. Do you know what's going on? The fact that you have people that are going to track you down because they're worried, even though they might not be very close by, is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, while we're talking about digital media and the internet world that we live in, how has, well, outside of RuPaul's Drag Race, which it's a thing, it's doing some good things. It could improve in a lot of other ways. We all have our take on that show, but it is mainstreaming a particular type of drag. And then we have YouTube makeup tutorials, which allow access for more people to learn how to build a persona without having to out themselves as wanting to be a drag performer. You can practice all you want and then go wash your face so that you kind of got your shit together before you go try entering that performance art community. But how has, besides YouTube and mainstream television programming, how has the digital age impacted the drag community from your perspective?
I think it's made it a lot more accessible. I'm able, for example, the digital age allowed me to connect with you. And it is now allowing me to connect with people that you all touch, and then my people who may not always get to talk to me one-on-one, who may not be able to listen to me. Because when I'm at a show, sometimes I have 3 to 5 minutes during a performance, and then sometimes when I host or in between songs or other entertainers, I don't always get to go out and talk to everybody. So I think that it's been helpful. No, it's been very helpful to a lot of people. I do think, like anything, there is misinformation that's put out there. There's information put out there by inexperienced people. So you kind of have to weed through and find what's going to work best for you. There really is no hard and fast rule on how to be a drag performer, on how to be any type of performer. step one, don't be an asshole. That's really the only rule. And then be good. But how do you define being good? It really is just being the best version of you, and people either love you or hate you.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. There's very few in between. They either love you or they don't like you. And that's hard. That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
You say all this profound stuff, and then I'm like, how there's nothing else to add. So if we're both super quiet, it's because you're being profound and we're struck and we are moved and we don't know how to move on. We're just awkward. We're just awkward nerds with mics.
Well, that's fine. So a lot of other entertainers have started drag through acting in plays, and they're theater nerds. And if you really think about it, that's what most of us are, even though I didn't get my start in theater. I mean, I'm still a nerd by someone's definition. Yeah, my husband happens to be walking by currently and shaking his head and agreeing that yes, I'm a nerd. I'm a 50s housewife mostly. I love cooking and cleaning, like legitimately enjoy those things. And I don't always like to talk when I'm out in public, unless I have my face on, and then you can't get me to shut up.
We don't want you to shut up. We want you to talk and tell us all your stories, and use us as yet another vehicle for reaching people and being an advocate and being an activist. On the subject of your activism, what are, besides tanking assholes at Pride, what other things do you do? Here in Columbus, we know the West family does a ton of charity fundraising for everything from the AIDS walk to, I don't know what it is this week. Well, there's the Nina West Foundation, which does all of its various things.
Yeah, and that's amazing. So, me, myself, and I, along with my husband, Raven Driscoll, we started the Gem City Bears here in Dayton. And it's not necessarily with drag, but it kind of
that's okay.
Stick along. You'll get the intersection here shortly. That's actually how I started doing bearded drag. Was at a bear run called North American Bear, and they have a show called Bearded Beauties. And that's where I was introduced to bearded drag, and I said, well, that's kind of fun.
Okay.
I can still do drag, and I can have a beard. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That sounds fun. So we started the Gem City Bears, and we don't do the nonprofit and all that, but we do a lot of fundraising and charity work. Our first year, we raised money for an organization. It's called Bridget's Path.
Okay.
Dayton is at the center of the opioid crisis. Mm-hmm. And so what Bridget's Path does is they offer help to newborns who are born addicted to opioids, and they offer non-judgmental counseling to the mothers, and they're there solely to help. We raised over $1,000 for them in one night, and this past year we also raised money for the Trevor Project.
The Trevor Project.
Very much. Again, another $1,000 in a night. But we continue to fundraise, and what I've been doing as the current Ohio Bearded Queen, every time I wear my crown, I don't keep the money that people hand me. Whenever you're at a drag performance, oftentimes performers will get tips. I get paid for appearances to come and entertain at venues. Mm-hmm. And every time I wear my crown, I don't keep the money. This past weekend, I actually just deposited. I have to make the donation. I raised money for the Dayton Tornado Relief Fund. And that's not the right name for it. The Dayton disaster relief fund, I think.
We can look it up and
Yeah, and so
make sure
all the
it's-
money that I made from that number, I donated, and I will be donating. It was a minimal amount because it was a small crowd, but $60 is $60.
yeah,
But
that's a big
I've
deal.
also raised money for the National Suicide Foundation,
Mhm.
or the National Prevention for Suicide Foundation, I think, in PSF. Yes.
And we knew where you were going with that.
Yes. So anytime there's a cause, if someone needs help, again, I have a voice, I have a platform, I can talk to people. I have the ability to captivate people, and they'll look at me. They either look at me because I'm pretty, or because I'm talented, or just because I'm a 6 foot tall, 300-pound man in a dress and I look funny or awkward to somebody. Either way, I have your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have your attention, then I might pique your interest and you might be willing to listen to what I have to say, or you might feel generous and say, well, here, I'm going to give you money for your cause. And that's what I do.
So you and Mike Hotpence have a similar impetus in your activism. I don't know if you're aware of this particular performer. He just happens to have the misfortune to very much resemble the current vice president.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I heard correct.
Yes.
What was the name again? Mike?
It's Mike Hotpence. And he does
Okay.
wear tiny, tiny shorts. And his entire thing is, I look like Mike Pence, so you don't have to. And
Yes.
He just goes out and performs, and whatever money goes in the can, he donates to charity of the moment, and he's got a list. And that's cool. That's the kind of activism that actually makes a difference. Because
I don't always
there's no overhead.
Yeah. Right. And I don't always have a list. Like this past year at fair, one of the cast members, she didn't need help herself, but her school did. And so I said, well, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what do you need? She said, markers, crayons, colored pencils, paper. How much do you need? As much as I can get. And I go, done. Like, and that was very easy. And it didn't necessarily come out of my pocket, but I went to my social warriors and I said, I have people. And then next thing I know, people are coming to my shop, not my shop, the shop I work at, the Potter's House, and they're delivering bags upon bags upon bags of donations, as well as the hundreds of dollars that I raised in a week.
That's amazing power.
Yeah. And she said, why did you do this? And I said, because you said you needed help.
Because kids need school supplies.
Right. But she goes, but you don't know me. And I go, I know you well enough, but you said you needed help. I have the ability to provide help. What's the problem?
And that says something about our society, that an act of spontaneous compassion is so overwhelmingly strange and unexpected. Right. So it's awesome that you were out there just living your life so openly and for the benefit of other people on several levels, but also without allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. Words are hard.
No, you're fine. Like even a friend of mine, he had a house fire and it was around Christmas time. And my friend has children and he didn't ask for anything. He just said, I had a house fire. And I said, okay. I said, what do you need? He goes, well, I don't need anything, but I don't have a Christmas for my children. And I said, how old are your children? He told me. I said, what are their ages? He told me. And in 2 weeks, still before Christmas, his children had a Christmas because we raised money and then we went shopping for his children. And then gifts were also given. And his children didn't know that they didn't have a house to go home to because they lived with both parents.
Mm-hmm.
Him sometimes, their mother the other time. And they just knew that dad had a fun hotel for them to come to for Christmas. And that's where all their gifts were, and they didn't know that Dad didn't get them.
No.
And it gave him the or not the satisfaction, but he got to look at his kids and still say Merry Christmas. And he didn't feel any less of a moment or what. The words again, words difficult, but he didn't feel any. Yeah, he didn't feel negative in any way because he couldn't give it to him because he did have it. Everything just burnt up.
And you were able to create a bridge between.
Right. I mean, I haven't been there. I haven't had a house fire, thankfully, knock on wood. But I mean, I've had my share of I need help. And if I can help somebody, I will.
And asking for help is one of the hardest things that some people go through because, unfortunately, pride gets in the way, and not this month's pride, but general pride gets in the way.
Toxicity.
Yeah. Noelle runs a online vampire game. And
ooh, I like vampires.
I've been
my suffer puppets. My host of suffer puppets.
But yeah. I've been thinking about getting back into it, and I'm like, I just don't feel like going through and doing the character sheet, blah blah blah. She's like, well, ask for help. I'm like, I've already asked for help about something else. I can't ask for help about something else again because it's taking away my help spoons. Because it's like you start feeling too needy, and you don't want to. It just gets all screwed up. I got lucky recently when I've gone through and I had asked for help just because of the bridge of non-payment for my own employment. Really, what it boils down to is that people that don't ask for help but get help anyway are the people that just help because they're altruistic, I think the word is, or are you wrong? Are great people. And every time that happens to me, all I can do is pay it forward.
Yeah, and that's all he asked for. He goes, what can I, because he wanted to pay me back. And I said, you're out of your mind. I said, first off, it wasn't my money. I mean, I made donations and things. I said, just pay it forward. And he had. Like, I crochet and I make things and I sell them. And the money I make from them, I just put it in an account and I don't touch it. I don't currently need it. It's just there. I do it. I don't know if either of you have crafts or hobbies or things that you do that you might be able to make money from. And you certainly don't do it to make money because you spend $75 for the craft and you could have really bought it on eBay for like $20 or something like that.
Yeah, but it would have fallen apart. I mean, you can buy a $20 corset on Amazon, but it's still a shitty corset.
Right. So I made blankets and I make hats and scarves and I sell them. And then whenever somebody says, I don't have gas this week to get to my job, can anybody help? It's Thanksgiving week and I don't have a turkey. Well, now you do. And people say, well, where did this come from? Don't worry about it. I just need your PayPal. And, I mean, if I could, I would just put money in an envelope and mail it to them anonymously, but sometimes that doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 25, so in 2010, I went through a really dark time. I went through a bad breakup and I was suicidal. And a friend of mine saw that I was having a hard time. And after I finally got to some level ground, but they saw that I was having financial problems. And they sent me $20. $20, that's it. That's what they sent me. But $20 changed my life. And it changed my life because somebody cared. And all it said is, I see that you're going through something. I hope this helps. And that was it. And at the time, I didn't know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
I've since figured out who they were. They told me. But I still look at that card, and they signed it as someone who loves you.
Aww.
And that meant the world that somebody did that for me. So now I always try to pay that sentiment forward. If somebody can't do food or groceries or gas or whatever, well, if I have it, I can help you. Because I've been there.
There's one thing that I notice on Twitter, because I follow things such as, like, GLAAD, other people that are trans performers, things like that through our Twitter page. There's this thing that goes around occasionally called trans pizza, that basically it's like, look, if you are trans, you need help, and you're hungry, let us know. We're gonna do around a trans pizza. We'll get pizza sent to you just so you have something to eat. Also, let us know your PayPals or things like that. So if people can't send you pizza, they can go through and send you money, because there isn't a day that goes by on Twitter that I'm not seeing someone in the LBGT community. There's more initials there, but there's so many, that isn't saying, look, my parents found out, or I came out, and everything went bad. I need help. And it's like, it's heartbreaking, and you wish you could do more than your $5 here or $10 there. It's just, it's awful. But all you do is support where you can and go from there.
Right. And that feeds into the drag family. So you do have the mentor-mentee relationships, but that emotional offstage, we all have to remember we are still people. We are still humans. Some of us more human than others. But it's important to still foster that piece, because we're not on stage all the time. We're not always in the public eye all the time. I tell friends when they enter my home, we're unplugged, and that doesn't mean that you don't have, or you turn your phone off, but like, I'm not here to perform. You get me. Like, this is it. And if we start to have a moment, we have a moment. If we cry, we cry. If we laugh, we laugh. If we sit in the same room and don't speak, that's what we do. But we're here. We're existing in the same space, and the energy is always there.
And sometimes that's just what people need, is they just need to keep company in silence. They just need to know that someone is present with them.
Right.
And that's not something we can do in this society necessarily. It's not a taught skill. Not a, again, these fucking words.
No, it's okay. It is not a taught thing, but it is by nature something that everyone inherently knows. We just got 2 new kittens, and you're probably thinking, how do kittens involve with this conversation? Because kittens, that's why.
Oh, we just actually, on Thursday, I came home and discovered we have a tiny void panther from Dayton who got displaced. So,
Wait, you have a what?
we picked. There was a kitten, a friend of a friend,
Oh.
shared a post
for
a little black kitten who got displaced from the tornadoes.
Oh.
So she blew on the
Well,
winds of fate
so
all the way here. So I get
about the kittens and
Yes.
the emotions. My 2 kittens, they were not litter mates. They got put into one. My black cat, she was part of a litter, but our gray cat, our Tori, she her entire family was attacked by something, and she came to the rescue as a single cat. So she was put with the litter.
Mm-hmm.
And I will see them, like they can go off and eat and play and whatever, but when it's time to go to sleep or whatever, it's not that they're cold, but they still need to be side by side. They need to touch. No one taught them that. No one told them that, unless it was their mother. But instinctually, we all know at the end of the day, we want to come home to someone and be with someone, and that doesn't always have to be an intimate sexual relationship. It's perfectly fine. Like, I've cuddled with my friends. We've hugged, we've embraced. Even after we come home from kayaking sometimes me and my friends will even take a shower together. And it's not, again, it has nothing to do with sex. Sometimes you just, hey, can you help me wash my back? Or I don't want to be alone. Or I've had an experience that I just need help getting through. People.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Like the younger friends that, well, they are, a lot of them, like daughters. In one case, non-binary elf creature. Those will get a call. It's like, can I come over? I miss you. I'm going through some shit. I need to come home. And they have decent relationships in some cases with their biological families, but they know they can come here, and they don't have to deal with the bullshit of being related to the people and having dealt with them for all their lives. On top of whatever other bullshit they're going through, they're just like, I want to come home. I want to pet the cats. I want to sit on the couch and play video games while you make fun of me, and then cook a meal together and just be in community together. And that's so important for us as a species.
Right. Some people enjoy solitude. Or maybe that's all they've known. I'm not one of those people, and most of my people are not those people. But yeah, if you need your alone space and your alone time, great. Just know, if you need not alone time and not alone space, my door's open. I've had friends of mine just need to get out of bad relationships.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, our home was very much a revolving door, because people don't know where we live. At least they didn't know that we had moved from where we were to where we are. And so they didn't know the new place. And I said, come here. Our house is a sanctuary. Like, you're here. We can park your car in the back. Nobody can see it. And you're completely hidden from everything. And then once you're here, you're here. Like, you're good. You can use our car if you need to leave somewhere. Just the only rule is don't tell them where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an easy thing to do.
Be safe.
And people, just everybody sometimes needs a place that they can go and unplug.
That's another powerful sort of activist thing that you do, and you're carrying forward the traditions of, the roots of Pride and the roots of the LGBT activist movement by making that space for people who need somebody. And it's neat to see how that, some people, whether they are doing it consciously or not, are still tapping into that root cause.
Yeah, for me, it's not a conscious thing. It's, I guess, how I was raised. Mm. My mother just always opened up our home to anyone and everyone, whether it was a Tuesday or Christmas or a weekend. She never turned anyone away. And that's kind of the mentality I was raised with. Mm-hmm. If somebody calls and says, hey, I'm on my way over, I haven't eaten dinner, you want to go out and grab something? No, but I have plenty in the fridge. Let's eat here. Or like if I'm going out, or hey, I don't have any food, come on over. I just cooked, and I don't know how to cook for like 2. I usually cook for like 20.
I feel your pain. I'm from an Italian household. We don't know how to cook. That's why I tell people, like, look, you don't understand. When I cook, I'm going to cook for like 12, 13, because that's all I know how to do. Unfortunately, that also means that out of that 12, 13, I usually eat for 4.
Well, and that's fine. Like, eat to heart's content or whatever, but, like, for example, a box of pasta. Did you know that a box of pasta has a suggested serving size and how to measure pasta? I didn't. I just always say, I'm feeding 4 people, I need a box of pasta. I'm feeding 6 people, I need 2 boxes of pasta or 1 really big box. Like, I don't know, apparently you can use your knuckle on your thumb, like the indent. If you take your forefinger and put it to the first indent of your thumb, apparently that's enough pasta for 2 people. And if you put your fingertips together, that's enough for 4 people.
I take the box of pasta, I put the box in the pot, I cook it.
Yeah, that's what I do. As long as you do not break the pasta in half.
And if you have more than 4 people, you get a second box, period.
Right, yeah, like that's how it works. My husband's now looking at me because he can probably understand and relate. So yeah, like I love to cook. That's very much my realm. That's actually what I wanted to do for a long part of my life before I settled on the job where I currently am, although it is still a future goal to own a food truck and to be able to travel and escape the corporate world.
See, my mom grew us up around like restaurants and delis and things like that because that's what she was good at. That's what she knew how to do. She basically got my sisters involved a bit in it, and when she tried to get me involved, I just knew that for life purposes, I couldn't be in food service. It's one of those things that to me is a little bit too physically strenuous. Now, if you said, hey, Bill, would you want to host Thanksgiving? I'm all over that shit. Because it's a one-time thing where it's not about people giving me money to eat my food. It's about the people around me enjoying themselves and enjoying what might be going on. And I'm able to sit down and have basically a good fellowship, so to speak, of people around me. So whenever I have an opportunity to do that, I do that. Because I love to cook more for other people than for myself. Basically for myself, I will go through, and lately it's been peanut butter tortillas. Just flour tortilla, slap some peanut butter on it, and go from there. Because I don't have the spoons to actually go through and cook for myself. But if people were coming over, I would make a menu. Because that's just how I am.
If you slice that peanut butter with some sliced bananas, and then you fry it in butter and cover it with chocolate sauce, I'm just saying, I've heard it's good.
I've done that before, but that this is my thought project with my thought patterns because of ADD and depression and all that, is that, yeah, I'd like to go through and fry this in a pot with a banana and things like that, but that would be, I'd have to wash the dishes afterwards. And it's the whole breakdown of energy. So that's why it's like, for me, I'll eat bread. I will just like get a loaf of bread and eat bread because I know that my body needs something in it. Even though it might not be the healthiest thing in the world, I don't care. As long as I'm not hungry, I can focus. So if I'm going to eat bread, I'm going to eat bread. I might eat good bread, but I also have no problem demolishing a 99-cent loaf of bread either. But
Bill, you need to come to my house. I'll make you dinner.
I know how to make dinner, so that's not the problem. It's just that...
I get it, but I'll cook and do dishes.
Well, if I'm ever in Ohio visiting, I will make sure to stop by. I'm up in Boston.
Please do. I cook 6 or 5 nights a week.
Well, I'll make sure to stop by, and I think that Noelle would also want to be like, I'm here too, and we could do like a live in-person podcast together.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
So, is there anything going on that you want to let us really know about, or is there something that you've heard about that you want to talk about?
Oh goodness, I really wasn't prepared for that. So, I don't have anything currently pressing urgently that I need to speak about. I mean, I am always trying to help my community still recover from the tornadoes. Today we actually just took another load of food and water and things down to the Dayton food pantry. So, I mean, I'd like to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on in their own community, even if they weren't affected by a natural disaster. Pay attention to what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's something going on in your city or your neck of the woods, be aware of it. Find out what's going on. Find out what you can do to help. Sometimes if you don't have money, sometimes people need help organizing. They need boots on the ground, or even a simple like or share on social media will help. But that's what's going on in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, one of the things I know about with your neck of the woods, I'm a New York Giants fan. They have a wide receiver, Cody Latimer, that after the tornadoes hit in Daytona, he's like, look, I know that this is organized team activities. I have to go to where I live because they need help. And his primary focus was trying to help single mothers because when he was raised, he lost his father to cancer. So his mom had to raise him. So that's been like his focal point in his area is like, look, I need to help the single mothers that need to do what they can because my mom had to go through that crap as raising me and my siblings. I don't want anybody else that's affected by these tornadoes. I want them to have the best that they can do with whatever I can do. So, you just learning. People don't understand how things that you may even enjoy can intersect with things that are important. So every time I hear about something happening and one of the people from my sports team running off to help because it affects their community, you wind up learning more about people's communities just because of what people are doing to go through and help their own communities. And
Right.
It's important. That's another good thing about the internet and social media is that if you take time to really learn about things, you realize people are people, and you have to do what you can just to let people live. Just like the Dial Heb Cat Sanctuary.
Right. Well, another thing that I also do when I have my crown on, I will say this has no power and no meaning unless I do something bigger than myself. And everybody is always very me-centric. Not always, but as performers, it's common for us to be yay me and we're all self-fulfilling. I'm past that point in what I do. I mean, I enjoy it from time to time, but I want to do something more for someone or someone else that I don't know, that I'll never see, but I just want to leave this world a better place than it was when I came in.
That really should be everybody's goals. Shouldn't that's what everybody should just strive for, is leave things a better place than they left.
You're right, and that's what it should be. And I hope by me being me, and I don't know, maybe maybe one person will listen to this podcast and maybe change their opinion, change their mind, change their perspective. if I have reached one person, this time has been very well spent.
Well, I want to say personally, this time has been really well spent. Noelle, do you have anything else?
I do not. Other than thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about all the cool shit you do. Again, I've been so geeky about it since Brian said, "Yeah, I got him. He'll come on and he'll talk and he'll tell us about being Holly Berry and all of this." And yeah, we didn't use your drag name nearly enough. You said Holly, but Holly Berry.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
great. It's great.
Holly
It's
Berry.
festive.
I'm on all the social medias, so
Okay, yeah, get us your social media links, your blog, your everything.
I absolutely will.
Your foundation, so that we can include them in the show notes, so that maybe that one or two people who listen who are like, hey, that's some cool shit. Where do I learn more?
Yeah.
We can
Feel
provide that
free
for
to listen,
them.
watch. Plus, I mean, I always love a hashtag I also do is have drag will travel. So if someone's listening and you want me to come talk, you want me to come perform, you want me to come educate, you want me to just come and, I don't know, do your child's birthday party, let's talk, and I'm sure we can figure something out. But drag travels.
That would be
It
an amazing
travels
birthday
very
party.
well.
I think that's better than clown. I know we're coming all the way back around to you saying that you and Bozo the Clown have,
I mean,
a
that's
skill
what I
overlap.
am. I'm a clown. I wear big shoes, big hair, big makeup, large costumes. What am I talking about? A drag queen or a clown? I mean, come on. That's what I am.
Well, I
I'm
would
not
say
saying that about all performers.
Yeah, I would differentiate it as that drag is more related to burlesque, and
Yeah, it could on some level.
And clowning is specifically comedic with no specific intent, whereas burlesque can be satirical in nature. In the case of your specific drag, the bearded drag, you're challenging that what is femininity, because here
Correct.
you are in all of your traditional maleness with the beard, in a gorgeous dress with heels and the hair and the whole 9 yards and the perfect manicure that I would die for. And you have all
No,
of that.
don't die for. Just go to the nail salon. That's what I do. I get the dip gel polish.
Okay, that's a good tip. Free tip from a queen. The dips apparently are great.
Oh yeah, they're very strong, and I use my natural nail, like the dip polish over gel polish any day of the week.
Nice.
All right, so that's gonna about wrap things up in this case. I again want to thank Holly for being on with us.
Mm-hmm.
You've been amazing. So we are going to go through and just remind you one more time. Write us at xchromosomepodcast.com. We want to hear your stories. In fact, we actually got a story that we're going to go through.
Story.
And
yes.
We're going to go through and talk about, bring up next week. They may actually be coming on as a guest later on. That might be exciting. But we still want to hear your stories, especially for Pride. Or if you have any questions, comments, anything that we could talk about on this podcast. Again, our email address is writeus at xchromosomepodcast.com. On xchromosomepodcast.com, you can find all the links, all the blog posts, all the episodes, all the social media, and everything that you need to know about this podcast. So, that being said, my name is Bill.
And I'm Noelle.
And I'm going to kick out the bot.
Okay. We also all have an X chromosome, and yeah, now it's time for our awkward outro where I scream at Craig until he leaves us alone. Yeah, get out.
You wanted
Craig.
to leave so much earlier, Craig. Why aren't you leaving now?
Yeah, you're not even typing the command.
I'm trying to find the command. So.
Is it not? It's all the way up here. :